and just your relationship to people that collect you?
Well, I make art to share my ideas and my philosophical perspective, and I try to make sure that the way I sell my art is in sync with my philosophical perspective, which is that art's for everyone. Of course, there are some people that can only afford a $5 sticker pack or a $45 poster, and there are other people that can afford a very expensive, meticulously produced fine art piece. And I love the idea of making work that fits every application. The difference between street art and fine art is really understanding the context. Street art, the stuff is disposable. You're finding the best balance between quantity and quality possible, but the stuff might last a day, it might last a week, occasionally it'll last years, but you're sacrificing it, it's ephemeral. With fine art, you want to create something for people that they feel is beautiful and precious and maybe a little more sophisticated than what you'd see on the street. But for me, having the street art and the fine art be aesthetically and philosophically linked is very, very important. So I've only been willing to work with galleries that would tolerate all the populist applications for my work, such as T-shirts and stickers and posters. Some people that just figured out what I was doing more recently have assumed that I have tried to cash in by merchandising, but it's actually the exact opposite of that. I made very inexpensive or free things for many, many years before my market started to mature to where I could make pieces that I could spend more time on. But it's interesting because the art world wants you to make everything more and more exclusive and elite, and I have no interest in that. And luckily, I've been able to sell work anyway, and stick to what I believe in. I think that that's partially because I've subsidized my career by doing graphic design, and I have been impervious to fine art market forces because I said, you don't want it, fine, don't buy it. And that's a position that I've worked very hard to maintain, but that's what I'm doing. I really I hope that the cultural resonance of my work is what will make it valuable to people. Art, if it has any place in art history, not the prices it garnered.
There's a question over here on the right.
First piece I saw of yours was on an electric box about the Black Panthers. Could you share with us your orientation towards the Black Panthers and a lot of African American culture? I was supporting that black guy for president. But it had absolutely nothing to do with him being black. I think that he was the best guy for the job. I think it was symbolic icing on the cake that he was black. However, there have been other things. I grew up in the South, and I've seen discrimination actually going both ways. And I don't think it's good for anybody. But what was inspiring I like grassroots movements that empower themselves. What inspired me about the Black Panthers was the idea that they felt like they were being persecuted by the Oakland police, and they wore lights and crossing guards and breakfasts for schools, and so they just created all these things themselves. And it was legal to carry a gun on the street then, so they policed the police. And that they took matters into their own hands, to me, is just one other example of the sort of do-it-yourself punk rock ethos that really shaped me, but obviously in a much more intense way. So
they had art as a huge component.
Yeah, and Emory Douglas's art for the Black Panthers was really inspiring stuff. But I read Bobby Seale's book, Seize the Time, about what he and Huey Newton were doing, and you know, I felt like they were really unfairly vilified by Hoover, and it actually was a very, there's always exceptions. There were a couple of, you know, radical wingnuts in there, but for the most part it was a really positive movement, I thought, so I was just expressing my support.
To get us sort of back on subject, sorry. We're supposed to be talking about collecting art. One of the things that's very different about the urban art sort of world from a lot of what else is going on in the contemporary art world is the activeness of the secondary market. The fact that artwork is exchanging hands very rapidly, sometimes at greatly increased prices outside of the traditional gallery network. And I guess, Shana, if you want to comment on that a little bit.
Okay, a little, and then I have a question for John after that. Well, for one thing, one of the reasons before I mentioned that I was it doesn't matter. When I was in college, I interned for Larry Gagosian, and for that reason, I do not work in an art gallery. And because I was in there and I just thought, holy hell, this is not what I want to do. I couldn't sell it. My attitude is like yours. It's like, I love it. Do you love it or do you not love it? Do you really need me, who you met 20 minutes ago? It could be anybody, to be the one to tell you to spend that money. Go home, and if you wake up tomorrow thinking about this painting, come back and buy it. I can't, I'm not gonna tell you. And so, you know, like I would tell people things like, assume it's going to depreciate in value. Do you still want it in your, you know what I mean? And so I did not ever have a future in the market. And still to this day, the only friends I have that are collectors are literally like my friends that buy art. I don't know any collectors. People are forever asking me that, and I don't know them. And I don't know the people that advertise in the publications that I work for. There's a firewall with editorial, and part of the reason that I was attracted to becoming a critic is because I wanted to find, and by the way, you want to talk about how much you hate the word urban, let's talk about how much I hate the word critic for a second, because I'm not a punisher. My role is not, John Russell said this, my role is not punitive. I am a writer. I don't get any joy out of spending a day and a half tearing some MFA student a new one because he's not David Hockney yet. And not that I even particularly love David Hockney, you know what I mean? So my regard of the market is I view it as a necessary evil because I really like the idea that artists can like eat and sleep inside and stuff, but I don't enjoy it. And I interact with it, except when I'm acquiring art for my home, almost as diligently as little as I possibly can. So that's kind of an answer, maybe.
A question here?
Shep, I wanted to ask you how you feel about people who you know are coming to you just because of the Obama budget now. Just make a book out of you, basically.
Well, I've always had sort of an inside-outside strategy with what I do, and I've felt like if I need to just go out and do street art to empower myself, that's great. That's what I'm going to do. But if I can infiltrate, the system and change it, then I'm going to do that. And cross-pollination is a very important part of my work. I still do some commercial jobs, which everyone's like, he sold out, he did Led Zeppelin's album cover, what a loser, And I'm like, well, first of all, I love that band. Second of all, I do it because I love the idea of someone, I get to hijack the Pavlovian association with Led Zeppelin and have it transfer to my art by proximity. And then someone will go, oh, who's this guy that the Mighty Zepp deemed worthy of doing their album package? And there I am. I'm listed on the inside with my website, and people will go and they'll find out about all the rest of my work. What I can't stand insider exclusivity. Seth, are you holding the velvet rope for this whole urban art scene? You got that? Can I get in the club?
Can I get a plus one?
And